All right, awesome. Welcome everyone. This is Benjamin. Today we have a special guest with us. This is our webinar with Ramses Alexander on the path of integral shamanism. And I'm going to lower the volume and the music so we can hear Ramses clearly. Voila. So this is a special, very, very special guest, very, very dear friend of mine. And this is for the HUB27. So for those of you who are watching the recording, I hope you will enjoy this recording. You can always leave any questions, comments, or observation in the comment section. All the details about Ramses, if you guys, are watching the recording, the live recording, will be in the description, in the bio, so you will have all the details. And for those of you who are live with us, you will have the exclusivity of asking questions to Ramses at the end. And it's really going to be casual. It's really going to be casual. Yeah. Ramses, welcome here. I'm super glad having you. Yeah, I'm super glad you answered the call, because you're 2-4 projector. So for you, it's really about calling you out and inviting you. So I'm very glad you answered this call. And yeah, very casual. I don't have a very specific guideline or, slides for today. So I think it's mostly going to be asking you some questions and you see how you respond to the questions, but also, anything that you want to share with us on this integral path of shamanism. And I think that's it. But mostly, if you want, maybe introduce you, invite you to say hi to the community, sharing whatever you feel sharing, and then I'm gonna dig into your mind and pull some good stuff out if it sounds good to you.
Great, sounds awesome. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It is a process kind of pulling me out of my cave of just yeah, the work I do and introspection and all that. So I really do appreciate you inviting me. And yeah, I mean, I can say a few things about sort of concept of integral shamanism, or I guess that's what I call sort of what, trying to find a word to describe my path so far.
Yeah, I invite you, if you want to maybe let us know a little bit of your background and, how did you ended up in this path? What was for you the catalyst, the moment you really went fully on this path? And then maybe we can talk about how shamanism, can be useful for all of us today in modern society. What is maybe your what you have been seeing and witnessing in the community, today in the modern world, that humans are facing like deep problems and stuff like that, and how shamanism can be helpful.
Yeah, great questions. Yeah, I can start with really, my path really began in my early 20s in a healing crisis. I was in university. It was a combination of things. I had a series of health problems that converged. Insomnia, deep depression. I was suicidal. Deep confusion, digestive problems. At one point, I had incredible fatigue. I could barely get out of a chair. And yeah, it really felt like my life was falling apart. At the same time, I was experimenting with, I was in college, I was experimenting with drugs, and I was experimenting with psychedelics. And during this process of, it was a very challenging process, overcoming just the intense suffering and the desire to end my life. One of the catalyzing experiences was, well, at first I was, just taking psychedelics sort of recreationally, experimenting, high doses of LSD and mushrooms and these things, which honestly, it was cool for exploring the limits of my consciousness. But in actuality, they were just scrambling my mind even more in hindsight, and actually making my problems worse. And I was seeing a psychotherapist, and he invited me. He said, "You know what? There's going to be an ayahuasca ceremony by a Kofan shaman next month, and I really think it would be good for you to go." So I did, and that was one of the experiences that really awakened this shamanic call in me. Even though during the experience of the ceremony, I actually didn't have a very intense experience with the medicine. I was mostly just nauseous and purging. But the power of the ceremony spoke to me. It resonated in my soul. And there's this sense of knowing, like when the shaman was singing his icaros and doing his limpias with the feathers and stuff, there was this resonance inside me that was like, I know what he's doing. I know what that is, So that catalyzed this, initiated this call for the shamanic path, among many other things. Many experiences I began having without any substances, just being in nature, and really wild experiences were really showing me this shamanic dimension of myself, of my soul. And eventually that brought me on a path. I eventually went to Ecuador, Peru, and studied with several shamans. And in the process of that, I began to, well, really this awareness was present before studying with these various shamans and working with different plant medicines, entheogenic plant teachers. There was always this part of me that realized, because I went to school at Naropa University. I also studied health and healing, and also studied Ken Wilber and integral theory. And I was always aware that the healing process or the transformational process is never just one thing. We have multiple dimensions to ourselves. So I always felt like I had to pay attention to these other aspects of myself. I couldn't just drink ayahuasca and everything would be good. So working with different shamans, I learned a lot. I ended up sort of, life was showing me, actually, and I really don't mean this in any arrogant way, but life really showed me that at least a lot of the shamanic, the shamans I've met, also a lot of the shamanic culture, and I know there are exceptions, but in general, the shamans I experienced, they usually know really well how to do healings, or soul retrievals, or work with the energy in these shamanic states. But outside of those states,
they're all ridiculous.
Yeah. And in many cases, actually have really severe pathologies. And cause harm.
And you really nailed it. And that's why folks have really wanted to have Ramses with us today, because Ramses has been and still is one of my, I don't know if I can call it mentor, but one of my very role model. He's a role model for me, someone that I've been modeling, and you always have the good insight for me with the integration of the shamanism. And as you said, we can see all those healer or shaman in the spirit world that can be really good. But then when we are here in this world, there's nothing practical. There's nothing with integrity or nothing. They're just really fucked up, you know?
Exactly.
And
exactly.
But we're here in this world. And that's really what I love about you, is that you bring something that is practical in this world on how we can, you know, through little rituals and daily practice, keep our connection. Someone who really know nothing about design, you know, they can cultivate the connection to their essence, to their spirit, with very small rituals, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even more than that, I'll talk a little bit about that. For myself, the importance of discipline and creating habits, and also a little bit more the shamanic side of rituals used in the right way with the right intention can be very, very powerful. Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, that's something I've incorporated into my life so much that I hardly think about it anymore. And also I also want to stress the importance of, like you're saying, integration, because let me just give a little bit of a global context. The world now, we have had all these different spiritual traditions that have been relatively isolated for long periods of time, developing their particular skills and path that are really good in that sort of perspective, you know, whether it be Buddhism, Christianity, Taoism, shamanism, all these different traditions tend to be really good at what they're focusing on. In essence. Now, there's also dogma and pathologies mixed with that too. But now we are much more of a global community and global consciousness to a degree, in terms of the sharing of information, that we have access to all this knowledge now. So with access to all this knowledge, be overwhelming. So what's necessary is integration. You know, how to make sense. Where do these puzzle pieces fit together? You know, where is, and for example, and what things are shamanism really good at, but not so good at in other things? But then maybe psychology is really good in this area, and how can those fit together along with the insights of Buddhism, and then along with the insights of modern neuroscience, and all these different things. Now is the opportunity to put all this knowledge together. And I think also human design is an example of this kind of integration, right? Because it's integrating all these different perspectives and systems into a new coherent whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. So this approach is what I know is important for this time. A more integrated, holistic approach to healing and transformation is absolutely necessary for more efficient transformation, more balanced growth, more complete healing. So the general approach I take is integrating also a lot of insights from Buddhism and esoteric Christianity and Taoism and psychology and nutrition, actually, and many things. And also, you know, a lot of occult knowledge and conspiracy analysis, and all these different perspectives are relevant. And that's what I attempt to integrate in my life and what I share with others.
Could we say I was circling this channel that is the channel of you know, inspiration, the design of a creative role model, and that's the gate holding together. And you know, while you were speaking, I was really seeing that clearly, that in some way what you have been doing, and because I know you personally, and we had a chance to spend a lot of time together, you really have been doing that, like holding together all those different pieces of information and bringing this contribution at the highest level on how we can fully express ourselves by being really ourselves. And I know that the only one direction that at the end really interests you is love. And that's why you do all this work. It's to hold together all some piece of the truth and to put it together and contribute at this higher expression of love for humanity, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes it's been overwhelming trying to sort of hold all these different perspectives and how do they all fit together. And what's been most relevant for me recently in the past few years is really anchoring into my heart on a much deeper level than I ever have in my entire life. Because in the deep heart, all is held.
Yeah.
And all is clear. And
Yeah.
all is held in love.
Yeah. I remember one day I was texting you, and I was so pissed off and mad with my mom, and I was just like criticizing her, you know. I was like, oh, she's like that and she's that and blah blah blah, you know. And I remember you sent me a text, and I hated you for that. I was like, I hate that, but you were so right. And you know, you say something like the justification of, you know, justifying yourself, Ben, it's only alienating your soul, you know. It's like feeding your mind, and every time you justify and all of that. And then you invited me to do this exercise that was to really go back in my heart by writing down on a paper every time I say she, he, you, they, to remove and to put I blah 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 blah, I blah 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 blah, you know. You remember that?
Yeah, it's a super powerful practice.
And I
Yeah,
was
I
so
remember.
pissed off because I was realizing I am the one who, and that was true. I was blaming my mom for all of those, you know, points. So I removed the she and I put I, and that was a very powerful exercise of the integral path of shamanism, which was really going back to my spirit and realizing this, you call it very well, alienation of the mind, that like eat the spirit. And
yeah, I mean, it's yeah, in that moment I had it was easy for me to say that because I wasn't in your position, right?
yeah.
Another time I'd be like, this damn person, you know.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself, you know, I'm projecting you know, whatever it is, my own anger, my own pain.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that's one of the beauty, it's the beauty of life, is it serves as our mirror, our reflection, right? And it's also important to not, because I have had this tendency, it's also important to not get overly self-critical of when we explode or when we, you know, fall in the hole, when we lose perspective. When that happens, become aware of it, learn from it, change our thinking habit, our behavior, and but not repeat it again. And it's important to also, practice forgiveness, forgiveness of self,
Yeah.
forgiveness of others.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all comes back to the self ultimately.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. I love that. So that's the introduction presentation on, like, if you could resume in maybe 1 or 2 words or like a little sentence, how would you describe this path of integral shamanism? What it would be? What could you just say in few words about that?
Ah, summing it up into a few words, that's a challenge for me. Um, harmonizing the whole self, harmonizing body, mind, and spirit in uh, with life, with creation. Um,
Is it like a lifestyle, and is it something that everyone can achieve, or it's not really for everyone?
yes and no. Um, obviously, yes, because we are a complex, multidimensional, and yet just whole human being. So integrating all these aspects of ourselves into coherence, into alignment, this is the great work of every human being, to whatever extent, you know. Um, so absolutely, it's useful for everyone. The actual shamanic practices, that depends on someone's resonance and their calling in life. Um, there are many things that this path that I've been walking, there are many things that are useful and can be can resonate with many people. And there are certain things that it's just, unless you have a genuine shamanic calling and are willing to heed that calling and do the work necessary to learn and practice, that's more advanced thing. That's sort of, yeah, more advanced stuff for someone who has that particular calling. But that's not to say that in general, getting in touch with your own soul is the journey of every human being ultimately. So and paying attention to your diet, paying attention to um, you know uh, uh, what you're consuming in life and in your environment, paying attention to your thinking process and how you relate with others. These are all basic things that I think any integrally oriented person or perspective would pay attention to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And those, like, very simple and yet very powerful principles are what the brotherhood is teaching, and those very high secret societies. That's the information that they know, that they have been applying, that unfortunately we didn't really get the chance to have on certain extent, but today, because people like you, me, having access to those societies and knowledge, we're willing to share and to
Absolutely. And that's one of the fundamental differences of the light path and the dark path. Because even the dark path, and the higher levels of the dark hierarchy, they have great knowledge. Yet it's contractive. So they create a power differential by withholding knowledge from others, but then they can have power and control over others. Whereas the light path wants to share knowledge, which is light, which equalizes the power. Rising tide raises all the boats. So that's a fundamental difference between positive polarity and negative polarity in the
Yeah.
spiritual path.
Yeah. So could we say that the knowledge is fundamentally neutral, but then it really depends on who is using it and how do we use it, right? Because sometimes, you know, when people talk about shamanism and they really don't really know, they start to be a little bit scary. They're like, oh, but this is woo-woo, this is maybe dark magic, or that, you know, they get scary about all of that. And I keep telling them, it depends how you use it, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a, at this stage in, you know, evolution on Earth, there's positive and negative polarity, positive and negative spiritual polarity. So there's the dark and the light side. And it's becoming even more obvious in the world stage today. And so it absolutely depends on how it's used. Yeah, knowledge can be used to heal or to harm. So magic, there's dark magic and there's light magic, and it fundamentally depends on, there are many aspects to it, but fundamentally it depends on the human heart, and through the human heart, your connection to God, your connection to the divine. Because the dark side, negative polarity, is cut off from the heart, cut off from, it's rejecting the creator, it's rejecting divine. So that's why they have to kill, murder, steal, control, power, all this stuff, manipulate. Whereas the light path is connected to the heart. So it's connected with our source. We're self-sourced. So then it's, you know, it's with the direction of creating greater harmony, upliftment of the human family.
Yeah, I love that, because it's so good hearing a different perspective. And what we can do, guys, is we're going to take a few questions before we continue and before we dive in really some cool nuggets and like tips you can share with us, and, you know, a little bit more. But I can see what you say resonating with the human design system and the magnetic monopole that is, you know, pulling us towards this trajectory on life. And our magnetic monopole, it's really the love frequency. And the more we, for example, initiate, or the more we vibrate the fear that nothing will come to us, so we will have nothing to respond to, or we will get no invitation, so we need to initiate, we need to go out, make things happen, or whatever the case is. The magnetic monopole is just capturing all this fear and this impatience of waiting, all this not self. So we are out of alignment, and the magnetic monopole just capture all of that and we create more of that. But at the moment we are more settled and relaxed and in the heart, we put out there a frequency that the magnetic monopole is going to capture that is more in alignment with our true self. So we get more relaxed in the body to wait, to respond, and it just unfolds perfectly. So it's kind of we can really see this similarity here.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. I'm not as familiar with human design, and so I'd love for you to share more of your perspective on this. Yeah, I'm very curious about how you used your perspective on the magnetic monopole. The center of most of my practice and attention these past few years has been really cultivating this inner relationship with myself, capital S, my connection with the divine, the self. And it's in the deep heart. You know,
so could you say that and sorry I cut you, but could you say like one of the big aspects of the integral path of shamanism is to really surrender and cultivate this deep aspect, as you say, capital S, of the self, and realizing that maybe we're not that, and we're just passenger, as like we say in design, to just be this passenger and to fully cultivate in harmony with the self. Yeah,
absolutely. That's the center. That's our center. Our center is the self, our connection, our bridge with the divine. That is our center. Absolutely. That was well said.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm loving it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really loving it. Any questions, comments, or observation? Anyone would like to say something, to ask something to Ramses, or to, you know, have an observation? Yeah, Tom, yeah, would you like to?
Yep, I got a thing or two to offer. I am so grateful that this is happening at this particular moment. If you look at the transits, you'll understand why. And I always suggest you look at the transits. But what I would really like to be able to do, keep Ramses' chart for a second, Ben. What I would really like to do is point out something rather remarkable. You're not looking at an ordinary being here. You're looking at a being that had a very specific design. So I'd like to tie shamanism to human design for everyone here, but particularly for Ramses himself. If you look at the conscious sun earth, it is all about service. He's born on a cross of service. Of course, because that's the cross, you will notice that the 1817 is another arm of that cross of service. All right. And then if you look at the highways that this man is on, look at the north node, south node, unconscious first, and what you will see is it's all about consciousness. That would be the cross of consciousness. And then when you look at what he wants to do with all that, it is to have an effect upon the community. That's the conscious north node, south node, okay? So it's very clear that he has found his position, okay? To be of service in upgrading the consciousness of the community. If that's not a shaman, tell me what it is. That is most definitely a shaman, okay? So many things can be said, but this is a rather unusual being. And about 10 days ago or so, I was in contact with Ramses, and he wanted to have some work with human design. And I told him that that would happen. The next day I lost my voice and I'm still getting it back. Thank you very much, Ramses. Okay, but you know, what most people refer to as getting sick, a shaman would tell you is more about getting well than it is about getting sick, okay? And I, like Ramses, I really appreciated the story he was sharing about the depression, the suicidal, all the stuff. And I've been through the same thing. It is often said that very few of us, we all supposedly die. And I do mean supposedly, okay? But very few of us supposedly live. But once you have faced that death, once there's a part of you that has died, and it's specific to the magnetic monopole, remember what the magnetic monopole is. It is that which holds the illusion of our separate life together. Take that in carefully. It holds together the illusion of our separate life, of our separateness, okay? So if it's an illusion, what's the real truth? There is no separation. And that's what the shaman tries to do, is bring us back to the integration. How many times have you had this man talk about the heart? And when he's talking about the heart, he's talking about willpower, but he's also talking about the deep heart. What's the deep heart? The tribal bargain in the world of nonsense is all about a bargain. But when you get to the heart of the matter, it's actually the heart that does matter. And what's that based upon? Not separation, based upon community that has consciousness of unity. There's the service that's being offered. He's a quad right. Unusual creature, all about the future, not about the pasture, all about the future. That's why we go through this dark night of the soul, to recognize the illusion of our separateness, to arrive at the potential for unity. 8 out of 9 sinners defined, and he's a projector. You're looking at an unusual being. So you would not expect this man to live the collective life. He's not going to live the collective life. And yet everything about him is the collective or the tribe. So what's he trying to do? Bring us back to the truth of who we are, eliminate the identity crisis we all suffer from, which is what caused his suicidal bout, because he looked at it and said, I don't know who I am, but I'm not what everybody thinks I'm supposed to be, okay? So at any rate, I hope that gives Ramses something to see, that he's being seen, and inspires him for more, because what he is offering here is of the utmost importance for each and every one of us. But you will receive it your specific way through your specific design when you have an experience with him. If you choose to have an experience with him, it's going to be a big experience. Look at all that activation. It's going to be coming from so many different perspectives, with the desire to bring unity to all those perspectives. Not about separating, it's about they're wrong, we're right, blah, blah, blah. No. So at any rate, that's my comment. At some point I'll have a question, but thank you for shutting my voice down for 10 days, Ramses. It was very, very valuable.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Tom.
much, Tom. Very insightful.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Do you guys have any specific questions or comments, observation that you would like to share? If not, Ramses, I have more questions for you about this path. It doesn't have to be about design, by the way, because we mostly want to talk about this path of shamanism. But if you guys have any questions or things, feel free to ask. And if not, all right, yeah. Okay, so Ramses, I know you have been doing those YouTube videos lately, which I really enjoy, and you have been sharing like few keys on, how we can get back to sort of feeling good, because we have all this anxiety and stress today in our lives. You have been witnessing the crisis and the conflicts today in our society, right? And you have been creating this kind of a little step-by-step program, or way that is part of the integral path of the shamanism to help people with their own journey. So is anything you would like to share about that? Anything you would like to maybe give to people some few tips on what they can do when they feel stressed, or what is the stress, the anxiety, the mind stuff, or like how are you dealing with that on a day-to-day using the so-called shamanism, or using the way of the shaman, the way of nature?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a little bit of a larger context to what I'm about to share. And there are many ways to look at this, many perspectives, many dimensions of what's unfolding here on Earth right now. But one way is that we are in the midst of a spiritual war. And there's a spiritual war unfolding fundamentally between positive and negative polarity in the universe.
Is it why we feel like so, I'm sorry I cut you, but is it why we feel so, is it why, because in human design we talk about this 2027 that is coming, so this kind of shift in the background frequency with those new babies, this new consciousness that is birthing. So is it also what you get as information from spirit, from source, like why we have this spiritual war, or why people are fighting with themselves, battling with themselves, with the mind? Is it what you mean?
Absolutely. There's so much going on. because we're also in the midst of this rapid evolution of consciousness. And we've been sort of stuck in a very limited frequency range of perception and way of being, and a limited frequency range of consciousness for so long. And we're breaking through that now. It's still, I mean, we're in the process of that, and it's still also just the beginning of what's to come. And so without getting too much into it, because I want to get back to your other question, there are also, so think about just within the self, there's aspects of ourself that are kind, loving, want to help others, want to, forgiving, or, positive outlook, all this stuff. And there are also aspects of ourselves that aren't like that. Aspects of ourselves that can be malicious, that can be either wanting to cause harm or unconsciously causing harm, that resist our spiritual impulse, that resist our connection with our greater being. So that's also reflected out in the collective. So there are also, on the 3D level, people, human beings, and also in other dimensions, other beings that also inhabit sort of those aspects. There are forces that are aligned with divine and opening to greater evolution, and there are forces that are resisting that and that want control and power. So we're seeing that play out on the world stage, and it's also happening within our mind, because also the spiritual war, it's happening through us. So it's also within ourselves, and seeing also the insanity reflected out in the world right now. So I just want to give a little bit of that greater context. So so there's that going on, and with these increase of essentially light, spiritual light, but increase of solar radiation and neutrinos, and the increase of, we can just generally call it energy from the galactic center, and also through our sun, which is sort of like a fractal, a step down from the galactic center. It's our local God, in a sense, local deity that's radiating love light. We're getting this increase of energy to supercharge, increase our evolution. And as that happens, all kinds of stuff comes up. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of a shit show.
It is.
Just all the stuff that comes up, not even considering what's going on in society right now, but just within ourselves, it can be overwhelming,
So
sometimes.
can we call that this, what we hear everywhere? Oh, I had a spiritual awakening. Is it what people refer to? Because sometimes we're just going completely insane, and we have all those cognitions that are coming, and I can see people are feeling overwhelmed. I feel myself overwhelmed sometimes with all those cognition. I mean, not even for how can I say that? Sunday, during transit, I had some sort of a meltdown, like breaking down, because it was too much to handle for me, and I started to cry, and it was, massive. So that's what people are going through, and
Absolutely.
some of them are scary. They are like, what's
Totally.
happening to me?
Totally. A good metaphor, which is actually somewhat literal. We've been running on, 110 volts of electricity, and we're jumping to 220 in a sense. And there's a huge shift, our body minds are adjusting to a much higher voltage of energy. spiritual energy. And as this happens, more of ourselves come online. But because we've been in this spiritual sleep for so long, all these aspects of ourselves have been sort of offline and have gotten really dusty, have gotten really dirty, and haven't been used in a long time. So it's like really rusty. So as we're coming online, it's like we're just clearing out all this gunk, all this junk that we've accumulated through our lives, and perhaps multiple lives, because this is also the end of an age. So this is like a grand finale of many incarnations as well. So it's a sort of a convolution or a congregation of all these different aspects. But so yeah, with this increase of energy, we can especially feel it emotionally, physically, emotionally, and yeah, it can be very intense. And yeah, I'll go through times of intense emotional charge, the cry. Sometimes it's like my mind just can't make sense of it. It's just overwhelmed. And it's always something to pass through before, okay, then there's a breakthrough once I get past whatever resistance, whatever things that's not aligned gets aligned, or something that's not integrated has to be integrated. Our whole energetic circuitry is being upgraded. So yeah, it can be overwhelming. And there are some basic things. There are many things we can do. Many things we can do to increase the balance, you know, to help stay more in balance, so we can experience these transformations, these energy changes with more calmness, with more groundedness, with more serenity, with more clarity, yeah, with more harmony within ourselves.
And that's what you created, right? You did like those weekly videos, like inside, to really help us. And I know also one of your maybe we can talk about that right after, but one of your big work, and I remember when we were living in Peru together, that was about food.
Yes, it's fundamental.
Really bring awareness in the food. But maybe we can talk after. What are the few steps, you know, that you created to help to balance and to
yeah, and these are just 12 sort of steps or principles or things that one can do, tools that one can use, and it's definitely not all of them, because there are many. Those are just some of the 12 most important things that I pay attention to. And one is the breath. The breath is fundamental. I mean, as you know, and I'm sure as many of you here in the group know,
doing breathwork.
There's many things that can be done with the breath. But I'm just sort of introducing these general orienting guidelines of things to pay attention to, and then, you know, one can practice and expand upon them. But the importance of the breath, and it can just, I mean, obviously, it can get into something more expansive and powerful like breathwork. And, you know, it's amazing. I love breathwork. And it can just be simple. Just bring, you know, any moment that we remember, just bring awareness back to the breath and take a deep, full breath. And notice when feeling anxious, when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling confused, when you're feeling sad. Notice what your breath is doing. You may be breathing really shallow. You know, you may be really taking really small breaths. May even be hyperventilating, not realizing it. So just being aware of making the connection. Oh, what's my state of mind right now, and what's my breath doing? Simple. Be aware of that. Okay, now let me change my breath. Let me take a deep breath, slow down, just take deep, full breaths. Simple. Do that for 5 minutes, and you notice how your state of mind will change. Right?
Yeah.
Very simple, very basic, and it can be so simple that we just forget about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, breath.
So the breath is the first one you will tell people.
Yeah, breath. And what's intimately linked with that is also a practice that actually initially, when I was going through the first, the most intense part of my healing crisis in my early 20s, also eating psychedelic mushrooms, entheogenic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms helped teach me this. It relates with the nervous system. So our nervous system is electrical. It's processing all the information from our environment and also our emotions, our state of mind. So in society now, and with these changes and everything that are going on, often our nervous system is overworked, completely fried even.
Yeah.
So what I found is it's very simple and it's actually intuitive. This is actually a organic mechanism of the body. We have an internal healing response built in to our nervous system, built in to our somatic being, our body. But we're, because of how we're raised in society, it's largely conditioned out of us. We're conditioned to ignore it or block it. But if you look in the animal world, animals do it all the time. So if you look at a dog, for example, have you ever noticed the dog's been in a stressful situation or something like this? It'll shake. Or perhaps when a cheetah is chasing a gazelle, and the gazelle's running for its life, it's full of adrenaline, all these stress hormones, and it manages to escape. And it finds a safe place where there's no danger. It'll lay down and start shaking. And what is that doing? It's discharging all the tension out of the nervous system. So that energy, this fight or flight, this energy that's, been like sort of pumped up, has nowhere to go. So then it lays down and shakes and then discharges. Now the energy circuit can complete itself. Now the nervous system can move into the rest and digest state, which is where we're supposed to be most of the time. So the simple practice of, also along with the breath, a lot of these practices kind of build on each other. Along with the breath, bringing awareness to our state of mind, to our tension, actually focusing in on the tension that we're feeling in our body. It can be emotional tension, physical tension, focusing in on it, breathing into that tension, and then actually embodying that tension, allowing the body, it takes a little bit of practice because we're not used to it, but you'll find with practice that it's just allowing the body to do what it naturally wants to do, allowing the body to shake, allowing the body to move. It can even be vocalizing stuff. Even emotions can come out, it can be crying, shouting, vocalizing sounds, allowing all that tension to release in a healthy, safe environment. And what that does is it allows the nervous system to discharge this tension, and it actually strengthens the nervous system because now it's discharging that tension. Now it can sort of regrow, it becomes more resilient. So now the next time it can handle more energy, it can handle more experience. And this very simple practice I have found has been one of the most powerful practice that I have learned and have practiced regularly in my own spiritual development and also my health, my emotional state, because afterwards, my mind's clear, I'm happier, emotionally clear, my body's more open. I have more vitality, you know. And it's just yeah, so that's and also I want to mention, this isn't something also like unique that I've come up with. I later found out, even though at the time I thought, wow, I'm the only one doing this. I found out, oh no, there are therapies. There's TRE, trauma release therapy. There's somatic experiencing, which is another kind of therapy that focuses on trauma and releasing trauma from the body. And there's actually a science to it. So it's just, yeah, tuning into the body's natural healing response. So I would say that's a very key thing that I found to be very powerful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those two key, because I remember in Peru. So Ramses and I used to lead the retreat in Peru. Remember when we have the group, and that's kind of how we met. Actually, I was supposed to do the retreat all by myself because I had a group of people coming from Europe, and I met Ramses maybe 2-3 weeks before the retreat in Peru. And we really became a very, very good friend. And I told him I have this retreat, and I was like, hey, why don't you just do that with me? And so you shared all of that, and it's very powerful. And I remember you saying two so simple things. You want to see a good shaman, or like the best medicine of the shaman is laughing and shaking, dancing. Dancing, shaking, releasing the body. So
yeah, movement. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's actually another I forget how I labeled it in my PDF and in my videos, but that's actually another thing is movement. We're designed to move, you know. Our bodies are designed, and we have hands, we have feet. We're designed to interact with the environment. We're designed to move. So really fundamentally any kind of movement that resonates with you. It can be simple walking, it can be dancing, it can be Tai Chi and yoga, it can be working out and lifting weights, it can be whatever it is. Simple things that, I'm sure, a lot of people do, but sometimes you kind of forget, when we're in a really stressful situation, like, oh, I need to go for a walk. And that's another thing, getting out in nature. Being in a natural environment, because nature is, nature's many things, but it's harmonious. It's this harmonic energy, you could call it,
totally.
And immersing ourselves in nature, we naturally begin to entrain with that harmony, and many things, it's green, it's beautiful,
it balances our energetic system.
Absolutely.
It's so good. And in human design, we know that nature, there's a design for the plant, and the design of the plant is the splenic and the G center, this 1057, that is really grounding us, So there's an aspect of human design that is really speaking about plants, and it's the spleen and the G, which is really about feeling good and a sense of self, of identity. It's cleaning our auras. So it's nature.
That's fascinating.
It really is. And cool. Sibel is asking what kind of retreat. I used to lead the spiritual warrior. So that was the name of the retreat, and I was a combination with human design, shamanic practice, medicine plants. It's a very, very top level of people who have been working with me for a couple of times and really went through the basic level trainings and foundation. So when they come to the retreats, it's a full integration and embody on all of that. And we have been doing that with Ramses, and hopefully now that Ramses and I are more reconnecting, we will open maybe next year, some retreats in Mexico or Peru or the US, because Ramses is one of the person 100% I go work with. So hopefully we will have energy again to hold group and to share all of that. But that was
and help me remember, in that retreat, was there cold water plunges?
Yes, Yes, we did cold water plunges for the nervous system. That was you. You were actually leading this whole exercise.
Yeah. So you know the importance of that. I mean, just water in general. Even if you don't have access to cold water, getting in water naturally absorbs energy, and it can help discharge excess energy in the body. So immersing yourself in water, even putting your hands in water and consciously sort of grounding that energy out, can be very powerful.
Wow.
Then if you have access to cold water, that's even better. And if it's in a natural setting like a river or a lake, that's the best. Of doing cold water plunges. It's amazing for not only discharging energy, regulating your hormones, regulating the nervous system. I do cold showers every morning, and it really keeps my health balanced, my state of mind balanced, more clarity. So, you know, these again, you know, sharing these simple things that anyone can do. You know, you don't have to get some special thing or learn some complicated special practice or whatever. It's just simple things you can do in your daily life that don't really take any extra time. It's like, you're naturally going to take a shower, take a cold shower. You know, you're cooking, pay attention to your breath. You know, if you have some time to relax, go take a walk out in nature. You know, simple things that can really make a big difference when we're feeling overwhelmed. And another thing with
I'm sorry, that's all part of the what you call the integral path of shamanism, right? It's all those little thing that actually at the end create this integral whole path, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, these are many simple things that sort of work these different aspects of ourselves that can help keep one in balance, and also increase one's health and clarity and state of mind and connection.
And Sibel is asking, what's the difference between hot and cold water?
Yeah, good question. So actually they both, the hot and cold water. So if you're taking a hot bath, for example, go into some hot springs, if you have access to that, that's awesome. It's super relaxing. So I would say any of that is good. They're going to have different effects. So hot water, absolutely, very relaxing. Afterwards, coming out of hot water, even if it's a hot shower, our energy body tends to be very open. So we're actually sort of kind of leaking out chi, leaking out energy afterwards. We're feeling really relaxed, but we're sort of radiating this energy out. When we take a cold shower, it's the opposite. We're locking that energy in. So one's more relaxing, one's more energizing. The specific health benefits of like taking hot showers and stuff, that I don't know. I do know there are many health benefits of taking cold showers and the cold water plunge. You know, there's reverse hydrotherapy. There's actually a therapy around it. I know it increases your immune system and stuff. So you can,
cool. That. Thank you. I'm gonna put Ramses' website, because I believe on your website, if people sign up to the newsletter, they get all the videos for free, right? Because that's how I get them. So I'm gonna put up. So that's Ramses' website, and if you just sign up on the newsletter, you get one email a day for that 12 days, because it's 12 mini videos.
And it's a free PDF called Staying Centered in the Chaos.
So good.
So you get a free PDF with just, you know, going over these basic things, and then also you get some of the videos going into them a little bit more.
Cool. Awesome. I love it. Do you guys have any questions or comments, observation, anything, you know, you would like to ask? As you can see, I mean, I believe for Ramses as well, but for me, this is something that is very natural, because that's how I don't want to say grow up, but that's how I've been really trying to live my life, like making this a lifestyle, you know, really making that a daily normal lifestyle, like brushing my teeth. You know, it's for me going in a walk in nature, putting my hands in water, doing all of that, this harmony with my energetic system and my body and nature. It really is part of my lifestyle. So it's a new way of living. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions or comments, observation. Oh, I can see you, Nina. Do you want to initiate something?
Tom, you can go ahead first. I'll wait until after you. I'm still kind of like formulating something in my mind.
Yeah.
Are you sure? You should go first. You're the manifester, but if you'd like a little moment, I'll give it to you. No trouble. Okay. All right. Bless your heart. So I have a question for everybody here. What word would you use to describe Ramses Alexander based upon your experience for the last hour? Remember, this is a man who is a projector. He needs to be recognized. So if you could pick one or two words to say what you recognized in Ramses, and then watch Ramses' face. And then I'll do the same thing when everybody else is done. But we want participation here. You don't have to be an expert. As a matter of fact, if you're not, that's better. An expert is an X is an unknown quantity. A spurt's a small release under pressure. We don't need any of that around here. So just stick your neck out. Give a couple of words. Who's going to go first?
I'll go. I would like to say that just sitting here and observing and just kind of absorbing and taking all this in, just the energy that I received from him is just really peaceful and just really balanced. Like you're not seeking or taking energy, like you are just there and you are at peace and comfortable with yourself and who you are and the path that you are on. And you're kind of like, you know, hey, I'm this stream of water. And if a person were to pass by and need a drink, I am here. If not, no worries. So that's kind of like the energy I get from you. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Thank you for sharing.
God bless our manifester. Who's next?
I can be next. What I get is balance. That's what I feel from you, and it has been really nice listening to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I find his presence very soothing, very kind and knowledgeable.
You see his face? You see what happens to a projector when they feel recognized?
Light up.
Isn't it just gorgeous? Okay. Come on, folks. Who's next?
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah.
I think Ramses is kind of almost impersonation of love, like a good feeling. I mean, it's just a good feeling, a good thing to look at, a good thing to feel, a good thing to hear. That's it.
Thank you.
You are so, I trusted you immediately, Ramses.
Everything.
Oh, that's true as well. And you're very clear to me. I hear you. So thank you.
Thank you.
I felt like I had to be with you. It's very
Nice. Cheryl, anything you want to say?
course. Well, Ramses, listening to you, you know, I really admire your patience and wisdom. That's the energy I felt from you. And I think those are really perfect words for a projector who's aligned with his design.
Mm.
That's how I felt. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I think it's my turn. I think everybody has spoken, and thank you so much for that. Every voice makes all this the richer. When you watch the average projector in the world, you are making witness of a super manifesting generator on steroids and nitrous, okay? That's what you generally see. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault, but that's what you generally see. When I witness Ramses, there is a steady calmness. There is no concern. There is no, you need this. There is no selling going on here. There is simply the demonstration of what it is that he's offering. Nothing more, nothing less. Exquisitely beautiful to witness, isn't it? Because these poor projectors come into the world, and from the moment they start breathing, they are constantly dealing with all this crazy energy, okay? And we mentioned the business of going insane. We're not going insane, we're discovering the insanity in us. So instead of seeing insanity as, oh, it's an illness that needs to be dealt with, we can see it as an opportunity to get well. In the shaman world, they don't talk about getting sick. You take a large dose of ayahuasca and you purge. Nobody says, oh boy, that one really got sick. They say, oh boy, that one's really getting well. So just to be able to see what we've been trained into as opposed to what actually is. All you have to do is walk up to a person and say, are you breathing? And notice they go, that's all you have to do. How's your breath going today? Everybody does that. The moment you hear the word breath, you breathe, which is indicative of the fact that we don't generally breathe, right? Okay, so we're just talking about regaining our sanity and eliminating our insanity. This is just an incredibly beautiful thing to witness a projector, that calm, that even, that steady. For every one of those projectors I see like that, I can show you 1,000 of them that are running around like a dog chasing their tail. It's not their fault. There's no finger wagging here, okay? But above and beyond that, it's not just projectors who do that. Manifestors do that. Manifesting generators do that. We all do that. There's no blame here. It's just, okay, something else beautiful that this man brought to us. The polarity that's going on right now that is so strong in our face. What is it doing? It's making it very clear what our choice is. What do you want to choose? What do we talk about in design all the time? How can you make a decision what you're going to choose correctly as yourself? You see, all these things are coming together as opposed to all this competition. Oh, it's my way, not that way. Oh, it's this. You know, now we are starting to see that a point of view is a beautiful thing so long as you can add it to other points of view rather than use it to negate other points of view. As we come together, the 8-1 channel, I know I can make a contribution, and that contribution is direction, and that direction is creative. The 8-1, I can explain the way creativity works, and what is it? Love. We have a little friend who has just the 8-1. That's all she has. And she said to me after a few minutes, she says, Tom Pfeiffer, I love you. And then she went, oh my God, was that too much? And I said, no, it's perfect. That's the only voice you have to speak with. So I know it's you speaking. How beautiful is that? Okay, so thank you all for participating. Ramses, what a wonderful thing this has been that you've shared with us. Ben, thank you for making this platform available. All the rest of you, thank you for showing up. And that includes the people that will listen to this because they couldn't make it today. It's not a particularly convenient time. But nonetheless, thank everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Yeah. Awesome. Nina, you wanted to say something or ask questions?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I just want to share kind of like things that I was connecting in my mind while everyone was talking. I was eating, so I had my camera turned off most of the time. So I've always kind of viewed shamanism as like this mystical thing that was like this label or this title that someone was able to, you know, be this like, I don't know, person who has really like reached the depths of themselves in order to be like an ayahuasca shaman, or like this person who has some sort of like psychic or mystical power. And so it was interesting to hear you explain shamanism in a way of like, no, just kind of like this journey of almost like coming back to yourself and connecting these different fragmented pieces of yourself. And I'm like, well, that's kind of like what I feel like I'm doing and a lot of people I know are doing. And I think that's a really beautiful way to describe it. So I appreciated your explanation of shamanism. And I mean, human design and the way that, you know, your illnesses and your ayahuasca journeys and stuff were for you. Human design has kind of been like that for me. While I did go down that plant medicine path, it honestly, like, it did expand my consciousness a lot and it showed me a lot of things, but human design really put in my face the work that I needed to do within myself and to become aware of these patterns that are not for my highest good, and really sitting in a lot of that. So I know there are a lot of different paths to this like awakening, and everyone goes through their own journeys. And I think one lesson that I've just really learned has been, you know, I've always wanted to like get to this destination of like healing myself. And that was a lot of my intention when I did the plant medicine. And perhaps that's why it wasn't as effective. And that was the lesson. But my intention was to surrender. And so the last few years, I have just been in this constant state of surrender and surrender, surrender. And then this year, it got to the point where I was just like, fuck everything. Like, I'm just not even going to try anymore. And that is like where the magic has really started to happen for me, because I'm surrendering on much deeper and deeper levels than I was before. And so that's where I feel like a lot of things are breaking up for me, but it's not as intense as doing a plant medicine experience. For me, it's much more of like okay, like I'm going through all these really big changes in my life that might be really overwhelming for other people, but I'm just kind of like sitting back and observing it and being like, this is really beautiful. And I see this is the journey that I am on, and I will eventually get to that place that I've been wanting to get to or whatever. But I'm just seeing the absolute beauty in all of it. And where can I find the joy and the fun in all of that? So I just wanted to share my own journey as well, because you kind of like sparked some connections for me. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Nina. Can I comment on that? Thank you, Nina, for sharing that. That brought up a few things for me. One is that around the shamanism thing, really all paths are leading back to the self. And depends on sort of what perspective you want to take, or what flavor or what experiences you want to have on that path. You know, so like Buddhism, for example, or even human design, it's a different flavor of experience on leading back to the self. And shamanism has a particular flavor, which I resonate with. And I say that as a loose term because I also resonate with all these other paths as well. So that's why I try and call it integral shamanism. But yeah, definitely an earth-based approach. So yeah, coming back to self, that's what it's all about. And another thing that you brought up, Nina, is something I feel is really important, especially now that a lot of shamanic stuff is becoming a little bit more popular, like ayahuasca ceremonies and all this. And without getting into a long discussion about all the abuse that's going on with that, And that is, you know, shamanism with, you know, these peak states with plant medicines, they can be like sort of really sexy, you know, these amazing experiences, you know, shaman with all his feathers and all this stuff. But that's just, they're just tools. The real work is your daily life. So it's really cool that you talked about your journey and your relation with human design, because that is the real work, is your daily work with taking some entheogenic plants. Honestly, they should only be taken at certain points for certain purposes, as certain tools for a catalyst for something in particular. But the real work is the daily life. And also the plant medicines and stuff, it's not for everyone. So really it's, yeah, I want to reiterate that that's so important that you talked about that, and that you honored that desire, that resonance within yourself to focus on human design and these other things. Yeah, because that's honestly is more useful. It's about the daily work, you know. There's no getting away from it.
Yeah. I love this comment. The day to day. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, it's like strategy authority. It's every day, every day. Awesome. Well, I feel good. I feel complete. Do you feel good? Yeah, Ramsey, you good?
I feel good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyone have a questions or another comment or something for Ramsey? If not, I think that's it for today. Yeah, Ramsey, how is your level of energy? Do you feel
I feel good.
Yeah, do you feel it's enough?
I feel charged up.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah.
No, I really appreciate you inviting me to this and providing this avenue to share this knowledge, my experience. And I also love you very much, Ben. The brother.
Yeah.
You know, we've had such a good time together, and I look forward to continuing our relationship.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your insight, Tom, and just the love and really I feel recognized. I feel recognized, and I feel recognized by all of you, and it's such a simple thing, and it just feels so good as a projector. Yeah, it really charges me up.
Did you notice how no one failed at that? Not a single person in this group of people failed at their ability to do that. Every time I sit before a projector, I tell them, here's the joke. I'm in the position today of guiding you, but the truth of the matter is you're in a hell of a lot better position to guide me than I am to guide you. And this is the beauty that we have been witnessing in this group, how projectors are coming forward. Folks, we are going to need them. But you will see the projectors that are actually going to be of value. They're pretty calm. The projector that's running around competing with everybody, they haven't gotten there yet. They will. It's not their fault, but they haven't gotten there yet. When you are going to offer peace, you have to have it inside you to be able to offer it. Other than that, what are you going to do? So anyway, I'm just as happy with this gathering of people that I have ever been with any group of people on this planet and my 69 years of running around on this mud ball. It is just such a beautiful thing to witness people be present, pay attention, and reap the benefits of it. So, thank you all, every one of you.
Thank you to all of you. That was really cool, Ramses. Thank you for answering the call, man. That was so cool. I will put all the details of Ramses and Vilborg. Say, I hope seeing you more in the hub. So yeah, I hope hopefully I will see if we can do something with Ramses and having even joining the hub or having him more often, doing little things like that. But as soon as maybe 2022 starts, maybe we will have some retreat in Mexico or in the US, because I know we talk about that lately. Let's see what comes. Yeah. All right. Well, if no one else have any more questions, Ramses, thank you again. For those of you who have been watching the recording, I hope you enjoyed it. If you do have questions, comments, or observation, please leave them in the comment section, and I will put all the details to contact Ramses if you guys choose and would love to get some individual session with you. Yeah, actually, would you like to talk a little bit about your work just before we go? Like, what are you offering? What's because I know you do group, you do individual. Yeah, if anyone is interested,
Yeah, sure, thanks. Yeah, right now, it's been challenging for me because there's so much that I do, how to sort of organize it and synthesize it all. But yeah, right now I'm offering individual sessions, and they're very flexible, depending on, can be, individual one-on-one sort of pay-as-you-go sessions if there's something in particular you want to work on. And also I offer like more of a 9-week transformational program, which you can find on my site. But really it's about tuning into where you're at and what your needs are, what your goals are, what challenges you may have, and seeing how I maybe have helped, and bringing a more holistic, integrated approach to that. So yeah, I offer that. You can find out more info on my website. And also something that I'm very passionate about right now, which I encourage you to check out if you want, is on my blog. These past few years, I've been really doing a lot of deep work on really tuning in with my higher self and really developing that relationship and communication. And I've shared about a year's worth of messages and material. And that's all free on my site. So if that resonates with you, you can check that out as well.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that on your website. I'm going to go look
on
it
my
up.
blog.
Okay, cool.
It's labeled under the message.
Okay, cool. I will have a look at that. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ramses. And yeah, final word. Anyone want to say final things?
One final comment.
Go ahead.
Not the last comment, just one final comment. Anybody else that has a comment, please, okay? If you want to see why Ben and Ramses work so well together and why they recognize each other, look at the unconscious sun. They both are on the cross of service with the 1817, okay? This is all about service. I have never met two people more dedicated to being of service to other people through cooperation than these two people. It is a beautiful thing to see what is actually there. But don't be afraid to look. You'll start noticing these things. I have no ability that you don't have. None of us have any abilities that someone else doesn't have. It's just a question of paying attention. That's what it's a question of. Okay, so I'm done. Anybody else got something left? I don't have to be the last word all the time.
No. All right. All right. Thank you very much, Ramses. Thank you again. And thank you for all of you to show up. I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, evening. Happy Friday, wherever you are. And I see you on Sunday for our casual Sunday to take a look on the transits and to have a more human design topic with our human design family. So thank you to all of you. A lot of love and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Of
Tom.
course. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Much love.